Broadcasting live from Business Radio X. It's time for Coach the Coach.
Welcome to Coach the Coach, helping business coaches deliver more impact in less time. If you want to help more people make more money and own your backyard, go to brxteam.com. Lee, this is going to be a fantastic segment. Please join me in welcoming to the program with Ogburns Business Solutions, Mr. Terry Ogburn. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Stone and Lee, for having me on your show.
Well, Terry, before we get too far into things, do you mind telling us about your practice, Ogburns Business Solutions? How are you serving folks?
Well, what I do is I work one-on-one with clients. It's not a mass coaching concept or whatever. It's just a one-on-one. I use GoToMeeting. I focus on business development, contributing to their bottom line through infrastructure and outside development, sales, bringing business to the table.
Now, do you find that that isn't an area that comes naturally for most people?
No, actually, it's tough for most people. Like I have a construction company up in Chicago, and we created an outside sales program for him by getting a salesperson to go and knock on doors in his surrounding area asking for business, simply because his business was so up and down because of the winter. So we're getting inside work from these places where, say, builds a suit. We're getting rapport with those people. And right now I'm proud to say that these guys this quarter have $1.7 million under contract with 42 bids on the street totaling $12.3 million.
Wow. So that was a pretty dramatic improvement.
In the first quarter. Yeah, that was just from the outside sales program. This first quarter of this year.
Now, do you think that because of technology that it's changed the way that people go to market?
Exactly. Consumers now, 86% of them or higher start their buying process online because they don't trust companies or salespeople and things of that nature. So they want to be more knowledgeable when they go into any time of transaction.
So they start online, but at some point that they're going to have some sort of a interaction or conversation with the business.
Exactly, and they prepare themselves because people their behavior now is not. They don't want to be sold. They love to buy. We all love to buy. We just don't want to be sold because that creates that buyer's remorse thing. So if we focus on building trust and rapport with our new customers as they come in, like for an example, I have a boat company I work with, and the first thing they have two questions they're designed to ask with the customer enters the showroom. First is, what brings you into our store today? So they make sure they're not going to service department, parts department, something. Make sure they're there for the right reason. And the second is, when do you see you taking delivery of this boat? And if you know those two, if you know the answers to those two questions, you can help lead the customer to their purchase. Another thing is, in this case, they're going to ask, how much is the boat? And I explained that the only thing they can quote is manufacturer's suggested retail price. And then they can say, but I can promise you, I've never seen a boat leave at this price, which is true. Either it's going to be negotiated and something is going to create an agreement. And then I ask them to say something like, now, if you'll just give me an okay on our agreement, we can move the process forward. Take those words and instead of saying sign the contract, use something towards an agreement.
So you're helping them kind of with the language that maybe they took for granted and they were using words that were creating friction, and you're kind of thinking through what's the best language to help them move them to the outcome you desire?
Perfectly said. There are words out there that just are like nails on a chalkboard. to a customer. And so we need to find the words that are more appealing to them. Again, like signed contract, okay, agreement. Same thing, but the thing, my premise is we agreed on something, so it's our agreement.
Now, when you're working with your clients, is it hard for them to, like, I'm sure they understand it intellectually, but to actually execute it, or do they have difficulty kind of using those words and getting, changing some habits maybe that they've had for a long period of time?
Exactly. And that's one of the first thing we work on when I take on a new client is basically creating new habits, and it takes 21 days to do that. And so we have to keep practicing. So I have routines that they go through. Like in a sales routine, it would be the first 15 minutes is what did you learn about your industry today? The second 15 minutes is a sales topic, how to become a better intangible salesperson. We don't buy cameras to take pictures. We buy cameras for memories. So connect the customer to the dream, understand what their dream is, and then use that. How does technology help me through this sales process? And then role playing. You need to role play before you ever call a client or call a customer. What are you going to say? What is your point? What bullet points? Write those things out. That becomes your script. And most people don't have a script, so they end up getting off the phone going, oh, I forgot. I got to call them back. And that makes us look so, unprofessional.
Now, do you find in your experience that salespeople are born, or is this something that anybody can learn about if, with the right training?
I've trained tons and tons of people. Anybody can be trained. There are natural abilities that, like reading people. If you read people well, you typically make it good in sales, because that's one of the attributes for that. But as far as the techniques, using languages and things that we can do, anybody's willing to learn, they can. I took this guy that's made this production here for that construction company. He was a project manager working on, as a overseeing project. He's never sold before in his life.
Now, what about introvert versus extrovert? Does that matter?
Yes, there is more and more companies using, and I recommend companies to use profiling systems where they use the DISC method, or there's several out there. But you should be hiring based on people's personalities, like an amiable personality. That's more of a support role, but they would not do well in sales simply because they can't deal with rejection. An analytical person in sales, it's tough because they got to ask all the questions. And you say, well, just call, like wax on, wax off. They have to know all the detail before they make the call. So it's very difficult to train from that aspect. But a good driver, or a good personality, controlling personality, or expressive personality would be who you're looking for in sales. But now if you're looking for a manager.
Go ahead. If you're looking for a manager, that's a different personality?
Yeah, a different personality for a manager would be more controlling or direct personality. Sales would be more for expressive personality. If you needed somebody like bookkeeping and your books, keep track of your figures, an analytical person would be the right. And if you're looking for support staff, an amiable personality would be ideal.
Now, in today's world, does every person on the team have to have at least some knowledge about selling and sales?
Everyone is a salesperson, all of us. Anybody that's ever tried to influence anybody over anything, they're in sales. So even if you're in management or a leadership role, you're still trying to sell them on your vision, your idea. So, but I don't like to label them as salespeople. So I use the word sales consultant, something that takes the sting off the word.
Now, a lot of coaches believe, look, I'm just a coach. I'm not selling anybody anything. I just let them know that I can, I'm good at this thing and I can help them achieve their goals. How do you help them kind of reconcile that selling is kind of integral and is part of everybody's business?
Well, it's easy to anybody that's in business. It's easy to share with them that sales is the lifeblood of any company. Without any, companies would not survive without sales. Now, they may not be the ideal person for the sales role, so then they got to hire the person. Just like some companies that are owned, they hire CEOs. I worked for Radio Shack, and the chairman of the board and the chairman, they didn't run Radio Shack. They hired CEOs. You have talent that you bring to the table.
And it's important to kind of align each individual with their superpower.
Exactly. Just like you would a football team, or many times a football coach sees something in a player that no other coach has seen, and he turns out to be the best running back or the best linebacker, because good coaches can see inside that person and know what they're best best at.
Now, for you, what's your backstory? How did you get into this line of work?
Good story, Lee. I got fired out of the car business in 1979. No car, no truck. And I was living in an apartment complex that had turning condo, and they had a broken furnace duct, and I could fix that. So I opened a air conditioning company, had a little air conditioning background. So I opened that up, fell right into the victim of being the technician. And 5 years later, I had learned, I actually started my business because I didn't have anything to do. It was more of a job. Then I had to learn how to develop a business. By 1985, I'd been nominated for Small Business Man of the Year, Outstanding Young Business in Florida, and started helping other businesses use the systems and processes that I use to fix my company. Ended up owning my company for 10 years, sold it to my employees, then was wooed into the corporate arena and started using my systems to turn around stores for Unigo Travel. Took a company public called Exit International, did turnaround stores for Radio Shack, was liaison for Metrocall Paging and AT&T when they merged together, and also helped Century 21 do for franchise stores.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Coach the Coach, helping business coaches deliver more impact in less time. If you want to help more people make more money and own your backyard, go to brxteam.com. We're visiting with Terry Ogburn with Ogburn Business Solutions. Terry Stone Payton here with Business Radio X. I've been listening into your conversation with Lee, and I was particularly enamored with what you said about building your company up and turning around and selling it to your employees. Kudos to you for that. I think that's a very similar dream vision that Lee and I have talked about in terms of building up the Business Radio X network and maybe selling it back to our studio partners. So anyway, that's inspiring and intriguing to me. I have a question for you around this idea of impact. How do you personally choose to define, measure, and make sure that you're out there genuinely delivering real impact when you're doing this work?
Because I stay involved. I'll be 68 years old in May, but I stay involved in all the upward trends, anything that's going on. 2009, when Facebook and social media first come out, a lot of people didn't embrace that. I would be the person that embraced that. Web 3.0 is coming now. You got to stay on top of your environment. I spend as much time educating myself as I do the people I work with. I try to stay ahead of them. Like one of my clients I've got now reading the E-Myth. So I've read the E-Myth maybe 10 or 12 times, but we're going back through it chapter by chapter. I'm reading it, he's reading it, and we're having like a book club with 4 of his people. So that's, you got to stay in tuned with the changing of the market. I just met last week Ron Klein. Ron Klein is the guy who invented the magnetic strip on the back of our credit cards. He also created the MLS and different functions, banking and all. He's 86 years old, and I was at a podcast event. I'm part of the podcast movement here in Florida, and he was there, and I got to be his concierge for 3.5 hours. And here this man is walking around talking to fellow podcasters, and they asked him, one of them asked him, said, so what is your podcast going to be about? He goes, oh, I'm not looking at a podcast. He says, I've got one more hoorah in me. I want to see how I can revolutionize this industry. He's 86, so that's what I'm saying. When we get to the 86, we need to be just as in tune with what's going on in this world as the people, that generation that's there. He said millennials have the attention span of 8 seconds. A goldfish has the attention span of 9 seconds. Pretty profound coming from an 80s. He said, another person said, well, why don't you start a podcast? And he said, podcasting is where old people go to network. And the guy says, what? And he goes, well, think about it. If I walked up to you in a networking situation, do you think I could add much value to the conversation? Now he's talking to a 35-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So we would most likely, that generation would dismiss the elderly. He had some pretty profound things to say, and so you can imagine what I did. I reached out to him, and we became friends on Facebook, and we were continuing our conversations.
That's marvelous. Well, I'm glad I asked, and I can tell just from hearing you describe your work and kind of enjoying your bird's eye view of what people are doing as a result of it, I can tell that you really are having tremendous impact, and I think it's marvelous.
Well, thank you, Stone. To me, it's joy, and a lot of times I'll be on a call. I do a lot of go-to-meeting calls, and we'll be on a call for an hour, and it'll seem like 15, 20 minutes. It's gone by, and we go, "Oh, wow, it's over already!" And yep, that's what happens when you're having fun and you enjoy your work, passionate about growing and learning. I got my from Tony Robbins. He uses CANI, constant and never-ending improvement.
Good stuff. Well, Terry, when you're building your business, how important was kind of that word of mouth referral?
That's all we can do is work on coaches and consultants. We really get our best customers come from our referrals. I opened Ogburns Business Solutions 13 years ago, and all of my business today is repeat and referral business. One of my clients has been with me for 9 years, or another one's been with me for 8, and so on and so on. And another advice to coaches is the idea is not to be everybody's coach. The idea is to pick a segment of the market that you like and that you enjoy, and focus on that. That would be a tip that I could give to coaches and people who work in my industry. Don't try to be all things to all people. Specialize. Get in, like mine is business development. That's been my focus all 13 years, is contributing to the bottom line. I figured, very common sense, figuring if I make you money, you're going to keep me.
So now, in your world, can you walk me through what it's like when you first meet somebody that wants to do business with you? What does that first onboarding kind of conversation look like? Are you asking me a lot of questions?
Yes and no. I have an intake form that I use. I don't use all of it, because first thing I want to know when I get on a call with a person is what do they see as the 3 things that they'd like to take away from the call, and I just focus on that. I don't try to sell myself. I don't try to sell my stuff or any of that. I just want to help them on their first what their three outcomes are. And through that, I can discern if we're going to have we can have a good energy between us. Not all people have good energy, and so if I don't see that they are coachable and their mind's going to be open, things like that, I probably wouldn't ask them for the next meeting. The next meeting is a 1 hour of my time where we go through the first program. Everybody goes through the same exact program slot, no matter how you're joining me. And at the end of that, I should know if because that session is free, if they are going to get along, we're going to make that through that. Then we talk about the price and how we're going to move forward.
And then how quickly after you start working with them can a person expect to see some results?
Typically 90 days, because it takes about 13 weeks, weekly meetings. It takes us about 13 weeks really to grasp, because I'm asking you to do some things that are a little abnormal. Like one would be close your day, meaning that you would take some portion of each day, you close it, you analyze what you did right, what you did wrong, better, outline what you plan to do for the next day, then gauge, put your to-do list together, get how many minutes it's going to take you on each one of your tasks, program them in, and then that's closing your day. Now you're ready for the next day.
And then that type of activity and those kind of processes, do you want your client to kind of formalize that and kind of integrate it in their entire business, or is this just for the sales team?
No, it's for everybody. It's whoever. We need discipline. We have 6 human needs, and in fact, I could give every one of your listeners a 4-step process that they could take with them for the rest of their career, if I may share them.
Yeah, please.
First is you must have commitment. You must be all in. Whatever it is that you're going to do, if it's get to the grocery store, you got to be committed and got to get up every day with that discipline of that commitment. Number 2 is you must have that discipline by putting disciplines in place to make sure. So if you got to get up a half hour early, then you got to get up a half hour early. You got to stay an hour later, you got to stay an hour later. You got to put discipline into your commitment. Number 3 is decisions. The decisions you make must be moving you towards your commitment. I give every person that works with me permission to procrastinate on anything that's not taking them towards their goal. And then 4th, you must visualize the outcome. If you want to be a good salesperson, you got to start to visualize that you are a good salesperson. You're a great salesperson. You're an excellent salesperson. And you keep ratcheting it up to you in your own mind that you are the best that you're going to be. And you keep practicing that over and over, and then you will fulfill the 6 human needs that we need, which is certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. If we can accomplish all of those, no matter what role we play, we'll have a successful life.
Now, as an outcome of working with you over a period of time, do your clients kind of end up with an operations manual for their business?
Exactly. That's the whole crux of the infrastructure. You can't get money from a client, from a lending institution without infrastructure. So that means you have to have a business development plan, an action plan, an organizational strategy, checklist, a budget pro forma. Most companies don't even know what a pro forma is in this day and age. Policies and procedures, your rule book, and then you have to have a social media and a direct marketing program. And that wound it out. Once that's what I did in my air conditioning business, put that together, and you can actually sell that as it's a viable product at this point. They can run any business. You can take that operation manual and you can take it to any city, pop down, and you can create the same you can duplicate it. If you can't duplicate it, it's not really a business.
That's an important distinction. Now, if somebody wanted to learn more and have a more substantive conversation with you and learn about your firm, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, I have two websites, ogburnsbusinesssolutions.com, terryogburn.com. Both of those places have a contact button or drop down. Any one of your listeners that would like to spend 1 hour of their time with me, no cost, free charge, all they have to do is go there, email me. I'll gladly take and spend 1 hour of my time with them, focusing on a challenge that they may have, and we'll fix that challenge at the end of that hour.
Wow, that's very generous. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Lee and Stone, for having me again. I appreciate this very, very much.
All right, this is Lee Cantor for Stone Payton. We will see you all next time on Coach the Coach Radio.